see a man in the mirror that I'm proud of. Him way too deep on my mama, I need power. Babies on the street, coming hits like every hour. If you want some beef, yeah, baby ain't a coward. You better stand clear, only alive for some dead precedent. I'm the man in the mirror, I'm here for long, I claim my residence. I'm the man in the mirror, my numbers growing, ain't it evident? I'm the man in the mirror, I'm finally glad I set some precedent. I'm the man in the mirror. Please chill out, baby, got all the labels like tweaking now. Yeah, I just set a standard that you'll have to allow. Yeah, I'm sure I got some years left, watch me keep to my sound. I'm gonna deem myself the man of the year. You should've never showed this music to some dogs, cause we switched it up and now we on the force. Baby always making gas, he found the sauce. Come and find me flowing 90 in a foreign whip with the roof that's disappearing. Yes, I'm reflecting, can't take things for granted while I'm staring. Yes, I'm reflecting. See a man in the mirror that I'm proud of. Him way too deep on my mama, I need power. Babies on the street, coming hits like every hour. If you want some beef, yeah, baby ain't a coward. You better stand clear, only alive for some dead precedent. I'm the man in the mirror, I'm here for long, I claim my residence. I'm the man in the mirror, my numbers growing, ain't it evident? I'm the man in the mirror, I'm finally glad I set some precedent. I'm the man in the mirror, 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 I'm the man in the mirror.
Fuck you been on? Fuck you been on? What you been on? What you been on? I've been on high, been on holiday. Pay for the team with my DNA. I've been on getting the 92. Predator making no one of you. I've been on coming through with a 2-2 and I'm fucking up with an 8. I've been on new tricks with the 2-6. I'm killing it with the game. Really been bad like a new grad coming out of it with a first. I've been on bringing a hearse, taking these niggas to church. I've been on fucking the 10. I've been on fucking again. I've been on many like a mother family when I'm rolling with businessmen. Fuck you been on? Fuck you been on? Fuck you been on? What you been on? What you been on? What you been on? I've been doing this. When with the crew in this. Nah. Fuck you been on? Fuck you been on? Fuck you been on? I've been on calling the middleman. Buying in bulk and I never wear. I've been on getting the vendor. Stopping and getting it with the law. I've been on freaking in public. She take a risk and she love it. I've been on blowing the budget. Look at the bill, say fuck it. I've been on long drive with sativa high, so she touching my genitals. I've been on bad hoes with an attitude, but she winning that editor. Pump me that V12 to a new city. New chain cost 250. New braid look too pretty. New day got 2 milli. Fuck you been on? Fuck you been on? Fuck you been on? What you been on? What you been on? What you been on? I've been doing this. When with the crew in this. Nah. Fuck you been on? Fuck you been on? Fuck you been on? Woo!
Fuck you dancing for, you looking lame as hell. Facts. For this bitch on time, cause I don't take no L. Facts. Met this white bitch on Omegle, she said ASL. Facts. I don't do relationships, they lame as hell. Facts. One bitch all I need for the week. If it's over, then it's over. Bitch, it doesn't bother me. Smoking green like Louise, and my rack's so fucking big. Every time I check and see, I think that money is obese. It's fat, for real. Big money. It's huge. It's like 20,000, 30,000. It's like I can't count. It's a big amount of money in that. It's big, it's nice. Who the fuck taught you to dance like that? Who taught you to dance? Who the fuck taught you to dance like that? Facts. Who taught you to dance? Who the fuck taught you to dance like like that, huh? Facts. Your ass too big, I don't got hands like that. Facts. Thick, but I'll throw money if you dance like that, huh? For real, facts.
Did you fill in your bio?
ASL.
Oh, you're a rapper? I might even send you a free trial. How does that sound?
ASL. Hey, fuck you dancing for, you looking lame as hell. Facts. Fuck this bitch on time, cause I don't take no L. Facts. Met this white bitch on Omegle, she said ASL. Facts. I don't do relationships, they lame as hell. Facts. One bitch all I need for the week. If it's over, then it's over, bitch, it doesn't bother me. Smoking green like Louise, and my rack's so fucking big. Every time I check and see, I think that money is obese, it's fat, and for real, big money.
This a warning shot to every motherfucking little one-hit wonder rap mumble brother. Kryptonite figured to pay the bundle, so we teamed up. Top 5 dead or alive, I'm bringing the rain and thunder, going insane. I'll be chopping like a helicopter blade, middle wolf's begun to hunt the jungle. Stomach rumbles, looking for something. Damn, what a fuck's little pump that I'm kinda hungry. These kitties better never come to my city. Come to the window, you gon' get nothing but animosity. Midwest monopolies, monstrosities, rap god. I'ma lead a beat in poverty. Hostility, drop a bomb on the enemy. Artillery, blowing up your auxiliary. Hit 'em with the intercontinental capabilities, leaving no stability. In the Middle East, Benghazi, Hillary. Will I be a kamikaze, a killer bee? Nobody really wanted to smoke, so I'm hitting with the jewel pod nicotine. Spotted like a chicken to the rotisserie. Figure out a frickin' detonator, incinerating straight eviscerators. I consider eliminating every hater in the visible vicinity, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator, fucking mobile rap exterminator. Then again, I spit it wicked, demanding and venomous. As I'm seeking to be the freaking diggity, reaping the benefits when I'm rapping it like a missile disintegrating the remnants. I'm beginning to be the reaper, so I load the Mac attack. Everybody dies when I nuke you, screws loose, losing my mind. I'm going cuckoo, who knew I would be the rap bait brute? Jesus, the suede shoes, I hit 'em in straight truth. The skeletons fall through the elements. Wordsmith, the letterman, way too competitive. Rap with the best of them, the veterans, and I descended the 7th level. I had the devil, mama made it out the ghetto, so how the fuck could I not be the illest when I feel like a villain? Killing anybody I will, I'm villain, still a gorilla. My pillage of villages, I'm building pavilions. King Kong, I'm probably making a song for Kim Jong, so Ching Chong, did he sing along? Yes, I'm ripping about the quickest, yeah, but I pick it apart, the rap, I bit the pit, the pad, I beat a pipe, I pick it, pick the tap, I pick it, pick the next, I figured that out from the straight, just figured tracks and mumble rap. Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang. Shooting range, too much rage, who to slay? Kryptonite, weaponize, hella rhymes, to the minds, to the mumble guys, want me hit 'em like it's MMA. Gucci, 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 Gucci gang. Murder everybody like a shooting rampage. Yeah, kill 'em all, fending all, blow 'em up. Molotov, Molotov, death to mumble, I roll the game.
Yo, I'm not a hater, but I call a nigga out on the shit. shit. I see a lot of people making money off of the kids. They popping pills, trying to hide the real feel. See somebody OD and be surprised when it happens to them. I'm counterculture, y'all some vultures, fuck that. Praying on they downfalls and bump that. Useless music, dudes is foolish, ignorant niggas flashing their cash, blowing money they don't have. Flowing feeling, I let them all read it and I laugh. Futuristic, the illest with the pen in the pad. Since a young lad, been out as a gun blast. I was writing raps while you was still watching Rugrats. Annie, I'ma up that. Put your money where your mouth is, you don't want smoke. Your lungs black, took a year off to sing on a bunch of songs. I was tired of rap, but now I'm joining with the comeback. I'm tired of verses without a purpose. I'm tired of guns in the videos. I'm sick of faking it until you make it. That shit don't make sense when you really broke. I'm sick of that mumbling BS, that music that regress. I just wanna see less. I'm tired of seeing the homies on shirts with the R&B letters right off of the heat press. Get your mind right, when the time right, I know that they'll reflect. You don't gotta listen to my music, it's cool, but you do gotta show the young man respect. Hold my hand up on your neck till I stretch the course. Mumble rap 0, us 4, check the score. There's somebody to come at me, I'm the best with wars. I'm moving silence going up like Tesla doors.
I don't really know what to do, becoming a spit fast. So immaculate, give me a pat on the back like I'm ready ability. Got they say this and check, I leave a massive and thinking to step into the best. They give them whiplash. Whether it be from nodding up and down from the beat of the track and giving them up because their feet is up in the raps. I'ma kill a mumbling motherfucker before we kill somebody else with a message that he's trying to make come to pass. Hello motherfucker, you hurt me, right? Guess it's hard to listen when your head is filled with purpose, right? Get hurt tonight, cause bitches like you deserve to die. Get hurt, it's terrorizing, it's absurd. Did I have to come back and reiterate this shit? I'ma charge you with feet for extending my hit list. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I have you forever looking at the back of your eyelids. And yeah, we just got back from a funeral. Look back, creepy, futuristic, it was beautiful. We had to say goodbye to some of the ignorance in the game, but that's what happens when they ruin the image that we portray. We don't play around and all of y'all should know it now. I'm not saying we played a part in the death, but to be honest, if ever the plane goes around, we take responsibility for it, take him up and kill him again.
Oh, y'all sell tickets like Marvel movies? Well, I still hate it like Scorsese. Y'all are just food from McDonald's and I am a gourmet filet that's more tasty. I'm more crazy than a short lady trying to give birth to 84 babies in the very back of a Porsche Cayman. I bury rappers than poor pavement.
Just because you're rapping fast doesn't mean that you're saying something.
Y'all motherfuckers rap so damn slow that somehow you're literally saying nothing.
Just because you can rap fast doesn't mean that you can rap good.
Well, just because you can rap it all doesn't mean that your motherfucking ass should. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, hit a hood'a with a psychoanalytical, metaphysical measurement. I'm making a fucking mockery. If anybody making a tip, taking a fucking top of me, I brutalize a beat and get the broccoli. Brutal, go the Tommy gun and then the bodies come. Do hit the choppers come. Everybody gotta run, you gotta get a blood that's put up in the ocean water and it's washing to the shore. Hey, I'm riding to the core, catch a body maybe before I'm gonna drop it to the floor. That there's a guy versus word. I got a shotty and a sword. It's like I'm already a war. You know I got a rubber score, but I'm stomping you some more. You'll be dead body in the morgue, talking to the Lord. You ain't got an audience no more. All of them are bored. You don't party anymore. Nobody watches when you perform. Now you gotta go and get a job at the Gucci store. Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang. Song is 2 years old. Gee whiz, who would think? Pull your motherfucking pants up, your coochie stank. Fuck the dumbass tats on your stupid face. I'd rather listen to Wu-Tang. I'd rather listen to Luke and Crypt. I'd rather listen to Futuristic, and you'd rather listen to this. I'm about to really go insane if the game gives even to have a little bit of fame to another motherfucker that got little in his name. Fuck Gucci, used to join the literacy gang. Kids used to wanna be astronauts in space. Now kids wanna put tats up on their face. All we're trying to be is the best MCs. As the death of mumble rap, rest in peace.
Hello. Hi. What's up? I am live right now, and I am supposed to be streaming Find Live or Die Trying with my friend Hannah. However, she took a nap and kind of forgot. She's been a little stressed lately, completely understandable. But yeah, that's what we're playing today. And we'll see what comes on from there. So, it's a visual novel game, so it's gonna be pretty simple. You know what? Maybe before then we can play a different visual novel game. Let me just edit my stream stuff. I'm going to do the last visual novel game we played. Emilliene. What was the name? What was the name of the game? The name of the game. Hold on. Let me open up my Steam so I can have that. I am not ready. I am not ready whatsoever. Oh, I didn't even install the game. I'm such a bad streamer. Oh god. Okay. The sad story of Emilliene. Whatever. Visual novel game time. Let go. Visual novel game. Join. Boof. There we go. Okay. Safe space. Got that done. Okay. Woo! Yeah! Okay. I know no one's in chat right now. Which is a little sad, but whatever. I mean... Honestly, it's whatever. I don't expect, like, a lot of people to join. It's just, sometimes it's a little discouraging, is all I'm to say. But, yeah, I'm live right now. I hope some people join. That'd be really cool. Pretty funky fresh. If I do say so myself. You know? But yeah, let me tell like every platform I fucking have to no, not save the oh my god. I'm live. I'm live. Let me choose some music. S-I-M-P. I want you to worship me. Get down on your knees. Better give me some money. Oh, happy Black History Month to any of my Black or BLM followers and listeners. I see you, I support you, and I hope you have a great month this month because Lord knows you really need it. But yeah. Oh Just you don't know. I Sura. Bum. Burn, 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 burn now. Dum, do, do, burn now. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Na, 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 na. Do, 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 na, na. Sura. Hell yeah. Burn out. Burn out. Burn out. Burn out. Burn out. Burn, 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 The game needs to load, but it won't, cause it won't. I am so fucking sorry. Skirts options in this thing. Oh my god, wait. Sorry. I was doing something. I kind of zoned out. I told you, I'm not the best streamer ever. So, but yeah. Hi, hello, how are you? Woo. That's great. There's no one here. Well, at least no one's being ignored, which is better, I think. Anyways, I'll say what it is. Okay, let me get this started. Because it finally downloaded, and it's been 30 minutes. Great. Love that for me. Tasty. Oh, hey! Okay. Where's the settings button? Maximize. Load game. Preferences. Full screen. Okay, there we go. And I believe it is Shift 2. Right? Hold on. Shift 3. Alt tab. Okay. Yeah. I'm right. Everything's right. Let me pause this music. Yeah. Okay. And then let me get back into the game, because I'm doing this on my new laptop, so everything's a little different. Okay, the music's gonna be a little chillaxed. Return. Load game. My saves aren't here! Fuck! Shit. Ass. This means we have to start from the beginning? Oh no! I'm so sorry. I guess here we go. My name is Toma Andrews. I am. Oh shit. It's Aunt Kathy's fault, of course. Most things are, according to Mum. Let me kind of. My cursor is nowhere to be found. Cursor? What cursor? You don't know her. It's all Aunt Catherine's fault. Of course, most things are, according to Mum. Stealing Mum's favourite dress when they were both schoolgirls was bad enough, but stealing the name of her first and only daughter? Now that's a low that many of us can sink to within our lifetimes. Sorry. My name was supposed to be Amelia. Mum has always loved the name Amelia. Though I don't know why she wanted to call me Amelia if I was a girl, and Thomas if I was a boy after her father. And then Aunt Catherine ruined everything. Aunt Catherine fell pregnant with her first child around the same time my mum found out she was going to have me. Their due dates were also very similar, only a few weeks apart. Though Mum and Aunt Catherine have never been particularly close, they spent more time together during the twin pregnancies than they had ever done over the last decade. They attended the same hospital for the checkups and went to the same support group at the Civic Center, and their rocky relationship improved over complaints about bladder infection and morning sickness and uncontrollable cravings for anchovies or smoked cheese. And then Aunt Catherine stole my name. Aunt Catherine is 1 year younger than my mom, but she always got things first. That's what Mom told me. She was the first to have a period, to pierce her ears, to have a serious boyfriend. She was the first to have a baby too. A baby girl. A girl they called Amelia. Mom didn't know what to do, having her dream name stolen away from her so suddenly. She had half a mind to confront Aunt Catherine about it, but didn't in the end. She had only just begun to repair her relationship with her sister and didn't want to ruin it. But she was still annoyed. She still is. Mom could have called me Amelia anyway, but the name didn't feel special to her anymore. Not when Aunt Catherine had used it. In the end, after much deliberation, Mom decided to go with a second option, Thomas. Since I was a girl, however, Thomas was out of the question. Was there a female variant of Thomas then? Thomasina? Thomasandra? Thomasetta? Maybe not. There was Toma, however, Toma Andrews, and that's how I got my name. That might explain why I don't like it very much. The name isn't really mine, like clothes that are 2 sizes too big. It doesn't fit me properly. It never has. That's because it was never intended for me. If I'd been called Amelia, would my life be any different? Would it change who I am? I don't know, but I've never been an Amelia. I'm just Toma, the weird girl with the weird name. And my name is the only weird thing about me. Ever since I can remember, my mum has been obsessed with family history. She says she's playing detective, peeking back into the past with only fragments of information, trying to find the truth. Mum took me to the library with her when I was small, so she could keep a watchful eye over my little blonde head while she delved into the annals of our family's long-lost history. There, she would spend hours and hours searching through the online databases and old archives and on the hunt for articles about the Spencers or the Kendalls or the Lintons or the Becketts or the Bradfords. Fortunately, our family used to be pretty rich back in the day. Mom says that it is a lot easier to research your family tree if you came from a wealthy background. There were more records kept on the comings and goings of the rich, as opposed to street beggars and paupers. That's probably because of the money. As soon as money is involved, people will pay attention to you. It was like that back in the 1700s, and it's exactly the same now. I remember that the floor of the library was hard, covered in the dark green carpet that was uncomfortable and scratchy. The walls were dull grey, like the concrete blocks in a multi-story car park. Though Mom got me a library card, I always got bored within the first half hour or so. There are only so many times you can reread volumes of Goosebumps. Despite these inconveniences, however, I still found the stories Mom would tell me about my long-dead relatives interesting. The stories sounded like they came from the pages of a book, not real life, not history, not my history. There were stories about my great-great-grandfather, Zachary Kendall, who used to be a great priest, but was fired from his post after he physically assaulted a member of the Congressional while drunk on Christmas Day. There were stories about my great-great-great-grandmother, Mirabelle Spencer, who ran away from home at the age of 15 to marry her middle-aged piano teacher, Roger Beckett. There were stories about my great-great-great-great-great-aunt, Rose Bradford, who was rumored to be a witch and claimed she could cure any ache or illness with a sprig of holly. I don't know why, but these stories my mom told me of unknown people from unfamiliar times always resonated with me. Maybe it was because they weren't fictional characters or celebrities, but real people. My family. Part of me. I wouldn't be alive right now without Zachary Kendall, even if he did beat up a member of his congressional, and I wouldn't be alive without Mirabelle Spencer, even if she did have a thing for older men who could play a semi-decent Fior Elise. In a way, I owe them. I owe them a lot. I suppose what they say is true. Blood is really thicker than water. And speaking of blood, the local library wasn't the only place my mom's investigations led her. Oh no, that was only the tip of the iceberg. She used to come to take me to cemeteries a lot. Not just the cemetery, Burberry or Saints, but all cemeteries across Lincolnshire, and sometimes even further afield, or to Yorkshire or Leicestershire. The thing about family history is, if you get obsessed with it like Mom, birth certificates and death certificates stop being enough. You want to see real evidence of your ancestors' past lives for yourself. Hence, the graveyards. Lots and lots of graveyards. Every weekend, without fail, my mum would take me on a trip to a graveyard searching for ancestors. Sometimes we'd turn it into a game. We'd challenge one another to see who would find Rose Bradford's final resting place the quickest. The winner got to choose what we'd listen to in the car on the way home. Being my mom's daughter, I hated her taste in music, and I was desperate to beat her. I got quite good at finding graves, if I do say so myself. Even though I was around 7 or 8 and my legs were as long as my mom's, I was able to beat her 9 times out of 10. I used to think she was going easy on me. Now I'm not so sure. I just have a talent. I'm good at finding dead people, even if they had been dead for 2 centuries, and all that's left behind are bones. Now, let me get one thing straight. I'm not crazy. I don't think dead people call out to me or anything. I've never seen a ghost before, excluding the ones in horror movies. I guess it's just a coincidence. But it's a quite strange coincidence. Whenever I went to graveyards with my mum, I knew where to look, almost instinctively. My feet just happened to lead me to tombstones, and via some strange skill I might have inherited from Rose Bradford, the self-proclaimed psychic, I was usually right. That may be why I'm so obsessed with cemeteries, even now. Just like some people prefer hot weather, others cold, I like graveyards. They remind me of my childhood, a fun time spent with Mum, searching for my relatives. When I went out looking for graves with my mum, I was almost always right. Ever since I started attending St. Hugh's College, however, I only ever felt wrong. Though I get good grades in most of my classes, I'm hopelessly lost when it comes to anything beyond that. I have hardly any friends other than Hattie, and even she might turn against me if she knew how I felt about her. I am nothing but Amelia Miller. I'm nothing like Amelia Miller, who just so happens to be the same form as me. She's always surrounded by people. They all love her. Would they love me if I'd been called Emilliene instead? I don't know. But I do know, even if it's unfair and ridiculous, I don't dislike Amelia. I'm still jealous of her. Her parents are still together, and her dad has a good job, and she has nice skin and pretty blue eyes, and she's incredibly popular. I, on the other hand, am awkward and shy. I can't hold a conversation with anybody other than Hattie. That might be the other reason why I like graveyards. There are lots of people in them, but they can't bother me like they do in school. They're dead, and that's perfectly fine by me. As the saying goes, dead men tell no tales. They only leave behind tales, which we can examine as we see fit. That's why I came to Burrowby, All Saints this Friday, instead of catching the bus to go to school. I just wanted some time off, a few moments where I can stop being myself, a person I never really liked. If only I'd been born as an Amelia. Then my life would be so much better. I would be so much better. The day is overcast for early autumn, and the thick layer of fog creeps on the ground. Grass wet with morning dew, but the soil beneath it is firm and hard. I suppose that's to be expected. You wouldn't want to build a graveyard on marshland where people would run the risk of falling through the earth and into the graves. I might have an affinity for the dead, but not even I fancy popping in for an unexpected visit with Gerald Fisher, 1843 to 1912, and Aline, wife of the above. It's cold too, and I shiver. It isn't a rough wind, though. Instead, it's soft, brushing past my cheeks and through my hair in an almost apologetic manner. The leaves on the trees are dark green, some almost turning red and yellow, but the sun in the sky is obscured by clouds, so everything looks grey. My feet crunch over the stray leaves with every step I take, but that's the only sound I can hear. Just me, the wind, and the leaves. As I walk through these well-trodden paths, I pause, examining each tombstone that catches my interest. There's something strangely inviting about these old slabs of stone, almost as though they're greeting me, and why wouldn't they? I come here often enough. They should know me by now. Any other mother would probably find their only daughter obsession with graveyards unsettling. Fortunately, my mom is just as weird as I am, so she doesn't question it. She must know my love of graveyards is all her fault, after all. I nod my head in recognition as I pass each tombstone. Alistair Doncaster, Irene Douglas, Charlotte Dapper, Aubrey Hughes, Abel Johnson, Genevieve Parsons, Aubrey Wedgwood. I wonder why these people were reduced to nothing more than names and bones. What lives did they lead? Were they happy, sad, or merely bemused by all the coincidences which led them into being? For Alistair Doncaster, that happened to be 1879. For Irene Douglas, 1894. Oh, wait. Is it not showing the game? Oh, wait. Hold on. Shift 3. Okay. Alt tab. Oh, I'm stupid. Okay, let's see if this works. Does this work? Does this work? Ah! What the fuck happened? Sorry, oh, oh my gosh. No, just... Everything's fine. Everything's totally fine. There we go. So sorry. Anyways. Okay, here we go. Oopsies. That must have been very, fucking confusing. Shit. Oh my god. I'm so stupid. Anyways. Sorry, I'm just, looking. Anyways, it's, yeah, okay. For Alistair Doncaster, that happened to be 1879. For Irene Douglas, it was 1894. What was the word like back then, when these people were alive, and their footsteps, not mine, crunched the leaves, and fell firmly against the compacted earth? I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine. As I walk through the graveyard, like Alice sinking into Wonderland, a heavy thought suddenly strikes me. What would it be if I was already dead? I close my eyes, the wind blows across my cheeks, and I swear I can almost smell it. The earth in my nostrils, the scent of decay. Ah. What was that sound? It was almost like a footstep. But that can't be. I am the only person here, after all. At least I thought I was. Not anymore. A young girl stands here, her arms held by her sides, her eyes wide and blue. Her hair is loose, light brown, her fringe is cut above the eyebrows. She wears a white dress, long and modest, which falls to her ankles. Her dress is comprised of a number of layers, and looks like something that belongs to another era, another time. In England, when Queen Victoria was on the throne, and horses and carriages was still the main way people got around, and it was socially acceptable to wear bonnets in public. She looked like nobody I've ever seen before, except characters in period dramas. There's something so unrealistic about her appearance, I can hardly bring myself to believe that she's really real. Maybe that's why I'm doing something I rarely ever do. My curiosity unsticks my throat, and I can find myself asking her a question. Are you going to a costume party? Are you referring to this old thing? That just doesn't look like some old thing. It's expensive, right? I believe it's rather dear when Father purchased it. Now, however, I am not particularly well versed in the economy, so I could not give you an answer. Father? What kind of girl calls their dad father? Maybe I'm just biased because my dad vanished before I was even born. Mom told me he couldn't cope with the commitment, which was quite funny, really, because he had no qualms about commitment when he was asked me to sleep with him. But father sounds too far dated, and I haven't even touched on the other stuff she said. Oh, The girl smiles, her face remains pale and does not flush, but I can imagine blood coursing beneath her cheeks all the same. She gives the impression of blushing even though she does not.
I suppose most people would use that nowadays. Forgive me, I'm not familiar with such a phrase, and it sounds quite peculiar to me.
And the plot thickens. My question was only to invite more questions, and I finally found myself drawing towards this strange girl despite myself. I want to know who she is. I want to understand her. And it must be this feeling, the desperate thirst for hidden knowledge, which encouraged Mom to track down the now remains of Zachary Kindle, Mary Spencer, Rose Bradford, and the rest. So, I haven't seen you around Bearbury before. Do you live here?
I've lived here for a very long time.
But you don't look much older than me. I'll drop the accent, because it's getting a little weird. And I might use it for her instead. I don't know. But you don't look much older than me.
I will be 15 years old this December. At least I should be.
So she's 14 too.
You say you've lived here for...
Oh, wait. Fuck. You say you've lived here for a long time, but I've never seen you before. You don't go to St. Hugh's, do you? She shakes her head. So what school do you go to? Ruskin, Sandon, not Walton Girls? She shakes her head again. Then are you homeschooled? That'd explain what she's doing in the graveyard at 8:20 on a Friday morning. Wearing such a strange outfit, she must have fled from one of those ye old-fashioned photography parlor places. I suppose I was homeschooled, yes. I've never been to school before.
I used to have Ellie, but I have not seen her in some time.
Ellie, a private tutor?
Something like that, yes. She was rather strict. She got angry when I escaped from his Duffield history lessons and headed over the Litton's estate.
She smiles softly, a gentle smile like an old woman with rummy eyes might when recalling a fond memory. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody my age pull a face like that before. Just, who is this girl? But you don't have a tutor anymore?
There wouldn't be much point anymore.
Oh my god, my mouth is so dry. Even though I just started. What the hell?
What the hell? What the hell?
Is she one of those YouTube celeb... Pardon me. Jesus fucking Christ. Anyways. Is she one of those YouTube celebrities then? She looks the part in the clothes. I can imagine her as one of the eccentric, self-proclaimed living dolls who get thousands of subscribers for eating food on camera. Can that happen with me? Please? I'd love that. I'd love to not just be talking to the void. Sorry. A little rant here. It's mostly because I do my best, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not entertaining enough. I have no fucking clue. But, yeah.
So,
I'm sorry. This is the first question I should have asked. What is your name?
Emily.
What the fuck was that? Pardon me?
Toma Emily.
What was that?
Toma Emily. Prep. Auto forward auto. Auto forward auto.
What did I do? What? What?
After choices.
Oh.
Self-voicing disabled.
Anyways. Mm, I think I can remember that. It's a common enough name. There are two Emilys in my class, Emily Hargreaves and Emily Turner. I don't know if this name fits the girl in front of me, though. Emily sounds too simple. However, and somehow unfinished. Like a sentence without a full stop. I don't investigate any further, however. I hardly know the girl. What right do I have to ask her so many questions?
And if it would not be too rude, may I inquire to what I should call you?
Oh, I should have expected this when somebody asks for your name. It's only polite to ask for theirs in return. I don't like answering this question, though. I never have. Just, what is my name anyway? It says Toma on my birth certificate, but I can't bring myself to believe that. Not when I was fated. Before, I took my first breath to be called Amelia.
Oh my. Do not look so troubled. You'll make me feel guilty.
I'm sorry.
What a funny girl. You don't need to apologize.
She thinks I'm funny, does she? It kind of stings how peculiar she looks.
You do not need to tell me your name if you do not wish to. We all have our own secrets.
Are you sure you don't mind?
I'm quite sure. I could just make up a name for you instead.
Well,
I hope you're not averse to the suggestion. I like rather giving people nicknames. I would always call Miss Warren Ellie. Her first name was Helena, you see, but she got mad at me every time I used that, too. This girl has no manners, she would always say. She must have a pretty face, but she behaves like a gutter snipe. Not that I gave a button what she thought. Father was paying her enough, so I thought it was best to make her work for her wages. She must have found me irritating, but I certainly wasn't boring.
well, I suppose it's fine.
Then I could think of a name for you?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. Anything would be better than Toma. Can you toe on my balls? I don't know. I'm trying to be funny, but guess what? It doesn't work when you're not.
Well, let me see.
Amelia looks me up and down, one finger against her lower lip. Her smile is teasing and her eyes flash mischievously like a naughty schoolgirl in an Enid Blyton story. She'll be talking about condensed milk and tin sardines next, I'm sure of it.
It is true we do not know each other very well, but that is just in the present. I feel that we could become quite close if given the chance. You remind me so much of her, after all. Can it be a mere coincidence?
Her?
I thought so from behind too, but when you turned around, it became clearer than ever. You have her nose and her eyes, maybe even her forehead too, but it's hard to tell since it's all covered in hair.
Well, I look at the ground suddenly awkward and dig the tip of my school shoe into the earth. I shift my right foot slightly, making a small indent in the earth. A minute grave for an ant. I don't know if I like being compared to other people. I do that enough myself. Even if I look like one of your friends, I don't think I want their name. I was hoping for a name of my own.
Yes, of course. You do not need to worry about that. I would never be so callous as to dress you in the title of another. I apologize if it seemed that way.
She does sound sorry too. Surely sorry.
Even if you look like her, you are not her. You couldn't be. It's not possible.
A sigh.
So, let me see. A name for you. A name that belongs to you and only you. Oh, I think I have it. From now on, you'll be called Verity.
Verity?
Do you like it?
It's pretty. Much prettier than my real name. Emily smiles, her face flushing, though once more, it's not really flushed. I just imagine that it does with happiness.
I'm so glad. I thought that virtue names might be too anachronistic nowadays, but I truly am fond of them. One of my aunts was called Charity, and my grandmother was Patience. Not that she was particularly patient. She used to hit my father for the smallest of misdemeanors, and she was...
Oh my gosh, I really hope the mic couldn't pick up that. That was my stomach. I'm a little hungry.
She used to hit my father for the smallest misdemeanors when he was a young boy. But that was a long time ago.
Her face darkens, but only for a few moments.
At any rate, I'm curious. Why are you in a gloomy place like this, at such an hour, when you should be at school?
Oh, I just like graveyards. They're relaxing.
Relaxing? That is quite the strange thing to say. Why do you think that?
I'm not sure. I just like them. They're nice and quiet, and people don't come here much. When they do, they're quiet too. It's the respectful thing to do. Apart from the local boys who tramp about here drunk on Friday nights and piss off the headstones and scroll rude words on them. I glance at the nearby graves of that of an Elijah? Pharaoh. Somebody has scrawled across the top of it in black marker pen. God is dead! It seems we have Banksy of our own living in Millbury. Who would have thought? And I like thinking of stories too.
Stories?
Yes, graves are small, and the people buried underneath them are turned into names and dates. Nothing more. I think there must be more to these people than that, though. What were their parents like? Did they have any siblings? What was their job? Were they happy? What about all the people they met, whose lives may they have changed without them even realizing it? I don't know about all those things. I never will. It's fascinating, but at the same time it's a little sad. I blush, my hands hanging limply at my sides. Did I say too much? I think I must have said too much. This is why I don't talk to people at school, other than Hattie. It's because I'm weird, and I know my fellow classmates, Emily Hargreaves and Emily Turner included, would just laugh at me. Well, maybe Amelia wouldn't. Amelia's too nice to laugh at anybody. That's what I think anyways. It probably sounds stupid, though.
No, I think you make some good points.
I did?
Yes, every person has a story, and there is not enough space on a single tombstone to tell it. The sad truth is, there are so many people in this world, it is not possible to remember every single story. As the years go by, they fall by the wayside. The dead must always concede to the limbs of the living, even in places like this.
Emily looks back at Elijah, Elijah, Pharaoh's Hargrave, decorated with the biting political commentary, God is dead and sighs.
I like thinking of stories too. In fact, I could tell you a story of my own. I have been turning it over in my head for quite some time, and I would be intrigued to hear your response.
I wouldn't mind.
Are you quite sure? I don't want to bore you. I can't seem to remember the last time anybody wanted to hear what I had to say.
No, I'm quite sure. I'd love to. There was nothing else I wanted to do here anyway. Nothing other than wander, trying to avoid thinking about school next Monday and how much trouble I would be in if it's discovered I've been playing truant. Oh my god. Anyways, I always run away from my problems. I have done ever since I was a child. I must have inherited that admirable trait from my dad.
Well then, if you want to, follow me.
Emily turns, her hair fluttering, and slips through the graveyard like a shadow. I follow her, curious and cautious. She leads me behind the church, where the trees are thicker and there's even more graves. She draws my attention to a tombstone. Just one tombstone of many. It juts out of the grass like a tooth from a gum, slightly crooked. A few cracks run down the dark gray sides, and the top of the grave is fringed with pale yellow lichen. The name engraved to the tombstone is a little difficult to see, impressed only shallowly, and I have to strain my eyes to read it through the fog. I didn't explore the graveyards of Lincolnshire in my youth for nothing, though, and I'm more skilled than most teenagers when it comes to reading inscriptions on gravestones. Here lies the body of Philip Burns, 1807 to 1851, also Perida Burns, wife of the above, 1811 to 1851. Also Emilliene Burns, their beloved daughter, 1836 to 1851. May their souls rest in peace. I shift suddenly, uncomfortably. Graveyards don't usually make me uncomfortable, but there's something about this tombstone that strikes this discordant note with me. Something here just isn't right. They all died in the same year.
They did indeed, and all on the same day too.
I turn away from the grave, the final remnant of an unfortunate Burns family, and bite my lower lip. When I speak next, my voice is barely a whisper, even quieter than the wind.
How do you know that? It's just a story. I already told you that.
I suppose so, but when Emily said it, it didn't sound like a story. She sounded deadly serious. She looks serious, too. Her eyes are narrowed, lips pursed, her face stark white as though carved from stone. Ah, don't fall. The fog swirls around us like a veil. It's even thicker than it was earlier this morning. I can taste the fog at the back of my throat. When I inhale, I cough. It tastes cold, rank, and repulsive. The taste of death. Just who is Emily, anyways? She doesn't look like any girl I know. She doesn't act like any girl I know. I'm almost tempted to believe, but that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it?
So, should I tell you my story? I must warn you, though. It is rather dour. Then again, given our setting, what kind of story could it be?
Oh, what the... Okay. Emilliene Burns, born in 1836 to Philip and Peretta Burns, led a charmed life. Her family was rather well-to-do, her grandfather being a lawyer, her father a banker, and she grew up in a large house with 5 bedrooms on the outskirts of Boroughbury. Given her father's profession, he was often always in London on business, but... Ow! My tongue feels too big for my mouth. But this does not upset Emmeline. She was old enough to understand that her father needed to work so they could afford her nice house and her fine clothes and the ribbon she wore in her hair. So she did not complain. Though she did not see her father for months at a time, when he returned home it was always with a present for Emmeline, and a kiss on her cheek, and it was as though he had never been away at all. Philip was a kind man, though yeah. Sorry. It reminded me of like the thing. It was like yeah. Sorry. Anyways, sorry, I'm just checking something. Philip was a kind man, though he may have not been a paragon of many virtues. He's the runt of the litter. If he were a pig, he would have been drowned. We would have drowned up in the well, Grandmother Patience always griped. Oh. He was not naturally predisposed to the world of financing, but he did have a good head on his shoulders, and was, oh my god, what happened? My phone turned on for no reason. Okay. He was not naturally predisposed to the world of financing, but he did have a good head on his shoulders, and he was relatively intelligent. Shits could deny that. Though through his quick wits, rather than his magnetic charisma, of which he was sorely lacking, was Philip, that had been expand upon the Burns family's fortune, as he had invested a good deal of their money into the stock market. Emmeline really did love her father despite his lack of presence in her life, or maybe because of it. They do say, after all, the absence makes the heart grow fonder. Even when Philip was not home, Emmeline had a great deal to busy herself with, and she was never bored or lonely. She would help her mother with her embroidery, or exchange idle gossip with the servants, or go for long walks about the countryside, eating blackberries from the hedgerows and snacking her dress on brambles. Emmeline's long-suffering governess, Helen Warren, certainly had her hands full when it came to disciplining her rowdy pupil. Though Emmeline was not unintelligent, she had been bored with the disposition of a sea captain or a polar explorer, and she was physically incapable of sitting still for 5 minutes. That is, unless she was with Cornelia Linton. Camille and Cornelia had known one another since they were both babies, and they were almost inseparable. They spent most of their waking hours together, sitting by the lakeside in the Lintons' private estate. They would stare out across the troubled waters, which carried along with it lily pads, reeds, and fish with shimmering scales, and they would talk, sipping raspberry lemonade. Everyone in Burrowbury knew the lake and the Lintons estate belonged to Cornelia and Emmeline. Or Emmeline? Emmeline? I don't know. They had claimed it through the countless hours they had whiled away by those grassy banks, feeding the fish and dipping their bare toes into the water. The lake was their private land, a ground everyone knew of, but nobody would intrude upon. And so it was that Emmeline and Cornelia spent the summer months together, basking under the sunshine. Oh.
So, how is your embroidery coming along?
Cornelia pouted, giving Emmeline a light shove in the shoulder.
Oh, please, don't ask me about my embroidery. You know you're better than anybody. You know better than anybody how dreadful I am at it. I have no hand-eye coordination whatsoever. Emilliene giggled, returning Cornelia's shove with one of her own. I do not understand how you could be that terrible at sewing, Nellie. It is hardly a science. It may be simple for you, but it's not so for me. Engaging in an activity I have no talent for is incredibly disheartening, and I keep bugging myself with the needle. Oh, let me see. What? No! Cornelia's pout deepened, and she held her hands behind her back, attempting to hide them. Why do you want to see my hands anyways? Do you want to gloat? Me? Gloat? I would never! I just want to see the wounds that have been dealt to you despite your best efforts, my dear Cornelia. So I may applaud you for your bravery. Forgive me for being so cynical, but I suspect you may be making fun of me. Of course I'll forgive you. You cannot help your cynicism, given your father fancies himself as a philosopher. It may run in your family. Indeed he does. Our library is filled with Hegel and Kant, though I doubt he understands it. Mother says he just wants to show off at dinner parties. Oh, is he able to show off if he cannot understand the material he speaks of? Nothing is more than bluster. Mother says pretense is one of the key traits a man must possess if he wishes to be successful in this world. My father is an earnest man. He could not lie if his life depended on it, especially not about philosophy. And that's why my mother worries about you, Emilliene. She has said as much before. She need not concern herself with my family. We may never be as rich as you, but what we lack in wealth we make up for with raw talent. Are you saying I have no talent? I am saying it is somewhat sad that a 14-year-old girl, as yourself, still cannot sew a single comforter. Hey! Cornelia, who had let her guard slip as she pondered her father's ill-fated attempts to ingrate himself with the intelligentsia of the age, tried to obscure her hands behind her back once more, but it was already too late. What are you doing, Emmy? What are you doing, Emmy? I'm examining your hands as I said I would. And, oh dear. Emilliene tutted and shook her head, her fingers linked together with Cornelia's. They have beautiful hands with such smooth skin, yet they are marked all over with red dots. It is as pure as though you have been an humid pincushion. I already told you, Emmy. I have no skill when it comes to sewing. Why must you tease me so? I was not teasing you. I was honoring your efforts. That is a bald-faced lie, and we both know it. If you had an ounce of respect for me, you would have not be smiling like that. Like what? Like that! Now, let go of me. But Emilliene did not. Instead, she continued to stand there, skirts fluttering about her legs, attempting to peer into Cornelia's grumpy little face with an undistinguished amusement. I told you, Emmy, let go. Why do you never listen to me? Because seeing you blush is so much fun, of course. Emmy! If Cornelia had the use of both her hands, perhaps she would have struck the top of Emilene's head for insolence.
As it was, she did not, and all she could do was glare. Glare and blush. Aw, they're so cute! Cornelia blushed a lot. That was one of the downsides of having such fair skin. That and when she poked herself with the sewing needle, as it was so prone to doing, the red welts that resulted stood out starkly, against her milky complexion.
Why are you acting so coy, Nellie? I know you would enjoy my company, really. Be that as it may, you are behaving rather childishly right now, and I have no desire to indulge in your whims. Honestly? Honestly. Even if those whims are your own as well? Well, Cornelia let her hand hang, her face turning just a shade darker. This was not the first time that the two girls had held hands. They had been friends ever since they were small. They were not unfamiliar with the sensation of the other's skin. In fact, they were most well versed with one another's bodies than the one may have expected. Though their mothers would have scolded them for the unladylike manner with which they comported themselves when left alone by the lakeside, they would have been scandalized to learn of the other, more intimate actions had taken place between the two girls. Let go! It had only been a month or so when they drunk on the lazy heat of the scorching summer. The two girls had slowly, lackadaisically shared their first kiss. Not a kiss on the cheek or the temple, as they had done during the babyhood, but a true kiss typically shared between adults of the opposite sex. Neither of them knew who had initiated the kiss or why they had lingered for so long in such a manner. Let's go! Their lips pressed together, but both agreed after the fact that they liked it. It had just felt right. Oh. As such, without giving these moments of intimacy too much thought, the two girls had continued to display their affection for one another in such a manner all through the summer of 1851. It may have been uncommon for two women to exchange such kisses and caresses, but what of it? Why should they not kiss one another if they wanted to? The lakeside was their own private haunt, their secret garden, and nothing could intrude upon them there, not even so-called common decency. That was another question. Why should it be indecent? Emilliene did not understand. She loved Cornelia, and Cornelia loved her, and was that not enough? Even if it was not enough for the rest of the world, it is more than enough for her. That's so cute! Okay. You know, you really are beautiful. Do you honestly think so? Of course, I thought so from the moment I was old enough to understand what beauty is. You're one of the loveliest people I have ever seen. Is that why you like me, Anne? Because you think I'm pretty? Maybe. We humans are fecal beings. Isn't your father proof enough of that? How cruel of me! If you are only kissing me because you think I'm pretty, then perhaps I should reevaluate the nature of our relationship. You are nothing more than a rake. Here you are even worse than the awful Wedgwood boys. You would compare me to Aubrey Wedgwood? My dear Cornelia, I am wounded. I am nothing at all like that boorish fop. Well, I wonder. He can be awfully insistent, too. It is not fitting for a young man. Of course it is not fitting. Did you know he even designed to take my hand during your mama's garden party last week? Honestly? Indeed! I would have slapped him, Nellie, had his mother not happened upon us. Did she scold him? Lady Witchwood? Of course not.
Emmeline spat on the ground and did not even have the courtesy to wipe her mouth with a handkerchief afterwards. Under normal circumstances, Cornelia would have scolded Emmeline, but on this score, she relented. Thinking about Aubrey Witchwood often made her want to spit too.
She dotes on that spoiled son of hers. Why, she probably believes him to the second coming of Christ, though he often flirts with every single woman in the village, old or young. You see, Nellie, I'm nothing like Aubrey. I'd rather die than become a rover like him. My feelings for you, my dear Cornelia, are modulated from a different cast. You have captured my heart with your ephemeral beauty, and now mine eyes can wander no further. You are my sweet red rose, newly sprung in June. Well,
Cornelia, flustered though she was by Emmeline's teasy, had enough wits about her to recognize that line.
Are you quoting poetry now at me now, Emmy? Indeed. Did you know that my love is like the melody sweetly played in tune?
Oh, what the fuck? Return! Return! I want to keep reading.
Don't be an idiot. If you wish to serenade me, you could at least write a poem on your own. But I know you appreciate it, really. In all honesty, I think you're being rather foolish. I cannot help myself, though. I really do love you, Cornelia. I love you so. Sometimes I fear I may go mad. What do you know about madness? I know when you are not by my side, I miss you horribly, and I find myself counting down the minutes. No, the very seconds until we may be in another's company once more. Well, I appreciate your feelings, Emmy. I love you too.
Like a singing bird. If only Emmeline and Cornelia could have continued to spread their time together, in so sweet a manner, smiling and laughing, or else bickering pointlessly and making one another pout, yet always parting with words of love and kisses stolen beneath the warm summer sun. Fortunately, such moments cannot last forever. The splendors of the summer soon faded, and leaves began to turn brown, and the wind gained a sharp edge that made Emmeline shiver. It was also during the autumn months that Philip Burns returned home for the first time in half a year. This reunion, however, was not quite as happy as the previous ones had been. Philip Burns had been a small man, yet he seemed even smaller during the biting cold September. He stooped more than usual when he entered a room, if he entered them at all, for he had now developed a habit of lingering ghost-like about the thresholds of his own home, as though afraid of stepping inside. It was almost as though, during his 6 months' sojourn in London, he had lost something crucial to his constitution, his sense of self, or else his soul. Philip's feet were planted firmly upon the earth, but he was divorced from the world around him. He drifted about aimlessly, like a somnambulist, yet was restless when his dream world, incapable of sitting still for more than 5 minutes at a time. He looked at things without seeing them, ate food without tasting it, held objects without touching them. Once he tried to pick up his glass during dinner and used so little force it slipped between his fingers, smashing into pieces against the floor. Even when he spoke to Emilliene, it was without any real feeling, like he was reciting words from a play script. Philip Burns had never been a very good actor. He was not like Cornelia's father, who had so much huff and puff he could have blown even the brick home built with the most industrious of the three little pigs. Philip Burns was far too honest, and that was the worst thing. It was because he was an honest man that Emily knew, though he tried to keep the truth from her. Something was wrong. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. But she did not know what.
Are you alright, Emmy?
Emily blinked, brushing a few strands of her hair out of her face, and turned.
Why do you ask? Is my face contorted in a curious manner? I supposed you could say that. You have been acting rather more despondent than usual. That is all.
A cat-like smile crossed Emmeline's lips. She leant forward until her nose was only inches apart from her companion's, and said in a hushed tones,
Are you worried about me, Nellie? I was worried about you, but I shall not worry any longer if you insist upon acting like this.
Emmeline only giggled, unmoved by Cornelia's protestations, and rearranged her hair.
Seeing you blush always cheers me up, my dear Cornelia. So you admit that you were feeling unhappy earlier? Just a touch. I cannot help myself, now when Father has been acting in such a peculiar manner. He shambles about the house like an animated corpse, like the misunderstood creature from Mr. Shelley's novel. Mr. Shelley? I thought the author of Frankenstein was Mrs. Shelley, not her husband. Oh, I am unsure of the details, Nellie. Mother says a woman could not have written such a twisted tale. I do not know what I should believe. In any event, it is not particularly matter. Probably not, no.
Emmeline ran a hand through her auburn curls, or at least she tried to. She soon found that her bonnet got in the way of this gesture, so she untied the ribbon beneath her chin and removed the offended garment. She let her bonnet sit in her lap as a mother might with a newborn babe, and played with the light green ribbon, twisting it about the wrist of her right arm. The sensation of the soft, smooth material against her skin was comfortable, like a caress.
To be quite honest, I have been rather concerned about Father. Just this morning, he missed a stair during his descent into the hallway and sprained his ankle. Could have broken his leg. But he did not? No, he did not. He does look rather undignified now, though, limping everywhere like an invalid. Oh, Emmy.
Emmeline shifted, still playing with the ribbon on her bonnet. The look on Cornelia's face was too somber for a playful forest sprite such as herself, and it was unsettling. She did not want to think about her father. She had retreated to the Lynn's estate, despite the protestations of Miss Warren. You have not finished your history lesson, Emmeline. I doubt you could tell Queen Elizabeth apart from a hole in the ground. So she could avoid thinking about her father. This was rather new for Emmeline. She had always loved being with her father. Now, however, she found herself seeking any resources available to avoid him. Seeing him like this, so small and sad, shuffling about his home like a repentant sinner, was too painful.
When you return home, would you give your father my regards? Mother is awfully concerned about him. And you too, Emilliene. Beatrice London would be concerned. She had always loved poking her nose into other people's business. She is not doing it because she enjoys idle gossip. You should know better than anyone that my mother deplores that kind of behavior. She believes it to be most unpleasant. She could not help but feel worried, given what she has read in the papers lately. Your family has a great deal invested in the East Anglian railways, do they not? Do not talk to me about business, Nellie. I can't understand it at all. I am sure you could if you tried. You have just been raised to believe that you should not bother. Gosh, you sound more and more like your mother every day.
Emilliene exhaled, tightening the ribbon in her bonnet around her wrist so much so it started to hurt. Though the material was soft, intended for wear by a young woman with silken skin who had never worked a day in their privileged little lives, it chafed when she wound it and stitched it about her wrist. It was strange, Emilliene mused, how such an inconus as a ribbon could cause harm when it was used with malicious intent. This world was more dangerous than she had ever truly given it credit for. Even the lake, which she had only gazed upon with Cornelia, could be hiding some sinister secrets within its depths.
I apologize, Nellie. I don't mean to snap at you. I've been rather highly strung as of late. It must be because of the atmosphere at home. Do not fret, Emmy. I understand. You do? Not entirely, but I will try to. I do care about you after all. Thank you, Nellie.
The two girls looked at one another, unusually shy, hesitant, their faces slightly flushed. Then, with a tut, Cornelia leant forward, brushing the tips of her fingers against Emily's wrist.
You should not do that. What? Fiddle with your bonnet like that. Because it is unbecoming of a lady. Because you are hurting yourself. Your poor hand has gone white. The blood cannot flow through your body properly if you impede it like that. And your hands, by contrast, still appear to be red, Millie.
Emilliene giggled and began to unwind the ribbon from about her wrist.
Are you still yet to master the secret art of the cross stitch? That is neither here nor there. I'm trying to comfort you, Emilliene. You have been doing a wonderful job. Gazing upon your many imperfections always cheers me. You are so cruel, Emilliene. Sometimes I feel like you do not truly love me. You just love toying with me. Now, where did a silly idea like that?
Emilliene smiled with a touch less sarcasm than before and leant forward. Then, moving quickly, a kittiwake might pluck a fish out from the water. She pressed a chest kiss against the corner of Cornelia's lips.
I love you more than ever. Nothing could quell my feelings for you. Not a raging storm or a howling wind.
Cornelia pressed one hand against her cheek gingerly, the spot where Emilliene had kissed her, tingled. It felt as like being poked with a sewing needle. A sensation Cornelia was desperately familiar with. Yet it was not unpleasant.
Your blushes truly are beautiful, Cornelia. They would even outdo the roses in the midwinter. Summer, not winter. That would be fucking weird. It makes me wish I could kiss you every single second of the day. If it would always look such a lovely response. I do not think my heart would be able to cope with such a constant slew of affection. You would kill me, Emmy. And what a better way would there be to die than a kiss fervent by a girl you love?
And with a light giggle even breezier than that of a coastal air, Emilliene pressed another kiss against the side of Cornelia's mouth.
You know you should ask my permission before you do that. I'm not quite as hungry for your affection as you are. So you say, but you did not offer much resistance. That sounds like something Aubrey would say. Never! You should not seek to compare me to the cur again, would you, Nellie? I am simply saying what I see. You claim to dislike Aubrey, but you grow more and more like him with each passing day. That is a lie! Libel! Slander! Take it back! No! Take it back, I said. I refuse. Well, I insist. If you want me to change my mind, you'll have to insist harder than that. All right, then, how is this?
With a devilish glint in her eye, which would have been evidence enough only a couple of centuries past to try her as a witch, Emily shifted forward and began her merciless assault. Not even William of Normandy, as he dove back to the armies of Harold Godwinson, would turn Battle of Hastings, could have convinced such brutality.
Emmy, stop that.
Cornelia kicked and squealed, pushing back against the ground by Emily's such siege, but to no avail. Emilliene had the element of surprise on her side, and she had taken a clear advantage. Cornelia blinked up at Emily, squirming as a hooked fish, as Emily sat astride her, skirts rucked up her thighs and fingers trailing across Emily's prone body. Beneath her chin, under her arms, against her sides. Was there any war tactic more vicious, more wicked, more devious than that of tickling? And this was not just any tickling. Oh no, this was extreme tickling, though it surely ended bloodshed.
Emmy, stop! Get off me!
Cornelia implored, breathlessly choking the words from between her pursed lips, about the indominant Emilliene remained unmoved.
No, I will not, until you recant what you said. That you are like Aubrey? Indeed, admitted to be nothing more than a lie, and I may spare your life. No, never! I stay by my word! Then I will stand by my actions. I will not stop until you surrender, Nellie. And I warn you, I can be very persuasive when I want to be.
Her eyes hardened like the steel of a sword's blade. Emily dipped her head and began to press kisses against Cornelia's neck. Cornelia's dress had begun to slip down her shoulders. There was a good deal of pale skin on show, more than would have been deemed socially acceptable.
Ugh, you rogue! You would attack the helpless young girl? Only because this helpless young girl is attempting to defile my honor. So you would seek to defile me? Well, I wonder.
Cornelia squealed as though she had been doused in water and redoubled her efforts to escape, but it was all in vain. The two girls continued to bicker, playfully giggling even as the warmth of the sun began to dissipate and the autumnal chill settled into the air. At that moment, as the day drew to a close, the two girls may truly have believed, with their rumpled clothes and disorderly hair and flustered cheeks, that this could last forever. Emilliene was dreaming, though she was not sure what it was exactly she was dreaming of. Her dreams were mostly comprised of vague shapes and distorted sounds, as though she were viewing her own fantasy lands from behind frozen glass or through a fine film of water. Sometimes, however, she dreamt of Cornelia. She always knew when she had dreamt of Cornelia because she would have woken with such a silly smile on her face and a soft flush across her cheeks. That was how she had realized she was in love. She was always thinking of Cornelia, even during the rare occasions when Cornelia was not beside her. Though Emily was only 14, she did not fully understand what love was. She did not need to. Why trouble herself over intricacies of that four-letter word when she could instead be doing things that made her happy? Those things being chiefly talking to Cornelia, braiding her hair, making her blush, kissing her lips, her cheek, her eyelids. Emilliene was not particularly picky. On this particular night, however, Emilliene did not wake to find sunlight streaming in through her window, half-formed remembrances of her love fiddling through her mind. She did not awake during the morning at all. It must have been late at night because it was pitch black in her bedroom, and she could not hear any birds. It was earlier than 5 then, she assumed, for she had no way of knowing if this was correct or not. It was so dark in her room she could not see the clock that hung on her wall, though she could hear it ticking. The first point she was aware of, other than the oppressive darkness, was that it was cold. The chill of winter was well and truly settling in, especially during the night, and she could no longer sleep with the bare arms and light coverlet as she had done before. Her summer sleepwear had been packed away at the back of the wardrobe, and the maids now set her winter nightgowns on her bed before she went to sleep, complete with puffed sleeves and high collars. The second thing Emily noticed, as her eyes slowly grew accustomed to the dark, was that she was not alone. There was somebody else in the room with her. It was none other than her father, Philip. Emily stared at her father with wide eyes, looked back at her. Emily could tell, despite the dark, that he was just as surprised, if not more, than she was. Yea, had his face looked so lined, his mouth so drawn, perhaps the shadows were playing tricks with her eyes. But he looked far older than his 44 years. Emily swallowed. All of a sudden, her throat felt dry.
Father, is something wrong?
Nothing's wrong, Emily. Nothing at all. But he did not look at her face, and he stuttered when he spoke. Why did he sound so frightened? Had something bad happened? Emily could not think of another reason why he would be in her room at such an hour, looking so tired. No, tired to not even begin to describe it. He had looked haggard, as though on the brink of death, and his hands would not stop shaking, even when he clenched them into fists. Emilliene sat up in bed, covers falling about her body like a funeral shroud, and looked at her father with concern.
It isn't Mother, is it? Is she sick?
Your mother? She's fine, Emmy. She should be sleeping now.
Oh.
A pause.
And why are you not asleep, Father? Could you not?
No, there's something I have to do.
At this hour?
Yes, it is of utmost importance. I don't imagine you would understand. Emilliene flinched. Her father's voice was strangely hard, despite the nervous stammer, and she was not used to him talking to her in such a way. Maybe the girl's father spoke in such terse, clipped terms. Cornelia's father sometimes did, when Beatrice wasn't there to chastise him. But not her father, not Philip Burns. There was no warmth in his voice, no tenderness. It was as though he was speaking to a stranger, other than his dear daughter, his priceless jewel, his lovely Emilliene.
I may not understand what it is you wish to do, Father, but are you sure I cannot help?
No, nobody can.
But
I appreciate the offer, Emmy, but it is far too late. Her father swallowed. Emmy could not hear it. It sounded painful, as though he were attempting to choke down a lead bullet or a piece of steel trample.
I do not understand. If you do not believe I can help you, why did you come to my room? What is it you wish to discuss with me, Father?
Oh, God. Philip's shoulders shook. It sounds like he was trying to stem a flow of oncoming tears, though he was not entirely successful. He bit down on his lower lip, but moisture still sparked in the corner of his eyes, threatening to spill down his cheek like April rain. His grandmother Patience were here. She would have mocked him. She had always done when Philip was a child. Perhaps that's why Philip was never visited Grandmother Patience. She made him feel like a young boy again, small, stupid, and utterly insignificant. And that was why Philip had gone into banking, though he was not suited for such cutthroat industry. Did not have a knack for it. Never had done. Grandmother Patience had said as much, but he was determined to prove her wrong. He wanted for once in his life to make her proud. And look at what that had cost him. His wealth, his reputation, and most of all, his family too. But there was no going back now.
Father? Father, are you alright? What's wrong?
Emilliene, oh my dear Emilliene, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I tried to be a good father, Emmy. I really did try. I wanted to be kind. I wanted to be fair. I had no intention of treating you like my parents treated me, but I was incapable of doing it in the end. It all went wrong. I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I was succeeding. For a while, maybe I was. No, I realized that I was a foolish fantasy, jumped by a foolish man. My mother was right. I should have been drowned when I was younger. It would have saved you all so much trouble. It would have made everything so much easier.
Father?
Emily got to her feet, her bare toes curling against the wooden floorboards, and took a few steps forward.
Are you not feeling well? We can call a physician if you would like. If only you would sit down. Look at how much you are trembling.
No. Philip shook his head mechanically, back and forth like a tin soldier, his words spoken in an almost frozen fever. The physician cannot help. No, nothing can help. We're done for, Emily. You and I and your mother, too. That is it. This is the end.
The end of what exactly?
Our money is gone, Emmeline. I made a terrible mistake, and now everything is gone. The bubble burst, and we lost it all. Every single thing. Emmeline stared at her father, her mouth open. She did not know what to do, what to say. What could she say? She was only 14 years old, and she had always been told by her mother that women had no places in the world of business. It was only natural when they could not understand facts or figures or tables of numbers. Beatrice Linton was the exception, rather than the rule. Beatrice Linton. Ah! Oh. No. I've been streaming for almost 2 hours and no one has stopped by. I should have given the bigger a heads up. Sorry. I know I sound absolutely awful, but I just... Honestly, I feel absolutely... I don't know how to describe it. I feel so upset and lost, and the fact that I can't seem to get anyone that notice me hurts. It honestly does. The only ones that are here are bots. I'm just here, myself. If only I was prettier, maybe that would be better. She was only a young girl standing in a bedroom with a winter nightgown shivering like a leaf. She did not know what to do. She did not intend to ponder her sniffs for much longer. I'm sorry, Emmy. I'm so sorry I let you down. I let you down, and now this is the only thing I can do to make amends.
Father, what are you...
Emily was not able to finish her question. Oh God. That is because at that moment, Philip Burns closed the distance between them and held his hands around his daughter's throat. His fingers dug into her skin and Emilliene could not breathe. First it was the shock that drove the air out of her lungs, and then it was the pressure about her throat choking her. She could hardly believe it. How could her father, who had never raised a hand to her in his life, who had never raised so much as his voice, even contemplate carrying out such a heinous action? But he was. He was really going to kill her. Emily felt herself growing faint. She wondered idly if dark purple bruises had been left around her throat when Philip let go. A fairy circle made of mushrooms. She had her head swam, her legs gave away beneath her, and she fell backwards onto her bed. Still, Philip's fingers did not budge. They remained around her throat, fixated with the gruesome task they had been charged with. It was almost as though Philip Burns had split in two, one half remained focused on murder, his daughter, his beloved Emmy, while the other, appalled at his action, looked away with disgust. Maybe he should have poisoned her nightly mug of hot cocoa instead. Then he would have had to bear witness to the look on her face as the life slowly choked out of her tiny body. I am sorry, Emmy. I'm so sorry. And he was too. His cheeks were wet with tears, and more tears kept falling. Some of them splashed against Emmeline's cheek, but this offering of remorse made little difference. Emilliene was still dying. She had been dying for around 2 minutes now, though felt like it had been far longer, and her heart was already starting to stammer inside her chest. I'm doing it for you, Emmy. It's for the greater good, I promise. I cannot stand the thought of my little girl going to the workhouse. I just couldn't. But Philip did not know what else to say. He doubted it would make much of a difference. Emmeline stared up at the ceiling blankly, her eyes a vast sea of light. Mouth began hanging open, her arms and legs were limp, and though her body was warm, it did not move. It could not. Philip removed his hands from Emmeline's throat, but Emmeline did not stir. Her eyes remained open, unfixed, misty with death. Emmy. Oh, Emmy. My little Emmy. With a choked sob, Philip pulled his dear little girl, who was now a very dead little girl, into his arms and wept. After that, Philip Burns killed himself, set the house ablaze, and slit his throat with a knife. Torching the house may seem like something of a waste,
But if he had not, he would not have been buried with his wife and child. He had to make it look like an accident. Of course, Emmeline was not there to witness that, but she found out in due time. And that is the rest of the sad story of Emmeline Burns.
I opened and closed my mouth, but no sound comes out. I don't know what to say. I had already suspected it, vague speculations about her being an internet celebrity aside, but I have no doubts left in my mind after hearing Emmeline's story. This girl is no Emily. I knew she was no Emily from the moment she introduced herself. Emmeline holds one hand into her throat, rubbing it gently, as though nursing a cold.
I wish he had not choked me. I imagine he did because he thought it would be less violent than stabbing me, but it took so long to die. 3 whole minutes. Worst of all, I could still not think during that time. I could grieve. I could suffer. Gave me enough time to form regrets, and maybe that's why I could not die properly.
Emmeline sighs, resting a hand against the top of her own gravestone. Unlike the ghost in films, her hand doesn't pass through it. Instead, her fingers make contact, firm and solid, and I even see her shiver when the coldness of the stone permeates her pale skin.
Maybe Grandmother Patience was right. Father did not have the willpower required to see things through until the end. Not even murder. I suppose I should congratulate him for trying, though. He really did try. It hurt horribly.
I opened my mouth once more, but I did not know what to say. How could I reply to that? What must it felt like being betrayed so deeply by your own dad? I don't know because I don't have one of my own. Of course, this isn't true in the strictest sense of word. I am not a product of a divine conception, and a human man did have a hand in my existence. I don't feel like I have a dad, though. Mom never talks about him. I never thought to ask. I thought Mom doesn't like thinking about soul Andrews, or that jit, as she calls him when she is in a charitable mood. She calls him worse when she is not, and I don't like thinking about him either. I don't have much to think about anyway. I never met him before. I've only seen his face in photos, and Mom threw most of those away. I can't say I blame her, given how he reacted to the news of her pregnancy. Apparently, he tried to coerce her into having an abortion, and even when that didn't work, he turned tail and fled. Didn't even leave a note. What a chit. Always thought I hated Saul, but I don't even know him well enough for that. Instead, all it feels is an absence of feeling, really. Apathy. Now, I can't help but wonder who has it worse, even though I know making such a comparison is unfair. Is it Emilliene, whose dad loved her dearly, to such an extent it robbed the life right out of her lungs? Or is it me, whose dad loved me so little he ran away before I was born, never tried to talk to me? They're both bad in their own ways. If my mom had bowed to Saul Andrew's wishes, I'd be dead too. The fact remains, however, that I am not. Emilliene, meanwhile, is. Do you resent him?
I do not know. I've had a lot of time to think about it, but I still can't come to a conclusion. Trying to describing it with words would seem inadequate somehow. But I am upset. I wish it had never happened. I know Father thought he had to do it. I'm sure it took him a good deal of thought before he was even able to consider killing me and my mother. He is not a violent person. I know it sounds cliche, but he didn't even like killing moths or spiders, and yet a person like him, spineless, grandmother said, was still able to murder his wife and child, then slit his own throat. Our financial situation may have been bad if he thought this was the only way he could save us. I don't profess to fully understand it myself, but there must have been a reason behind his actions. Men, even the most hot-headed men, do not murder their wives and daughters on sudden whims or whispers from fairies. He must have been in a difficult position. At the same time, it just isn't fair. I've never even asked him. He never even asked me what I wanted. And I certainly did not want to die. I wanted to stay alive. There are so many things I wanted to do. I don't know what things I wanted to do, not exactly, but I had my whole life ahead of me. I thought I could think about it later. I thought I would have had enough time. But I was naive. I just wanted to spend time with Cornelia. Even though I was young and did not understand a great deal about the world around me, I know that I loved her. I loved her with all my heart. And my father killed me. And that was the end of that. At least it should have been. I should have stopped loving her the moment my heart stopped beating, but things are not always so simple. And do you know what happened to Cornelia? Bits and pieces. She was upset after I died, I think. She cried a lot. Then she grew older and was able to put what happened behind her. She'll be dead now. She must have been dead for years and years. Emily smiles bitterly. Almost as long as I have. You didn't try to talk to her? I did, but she could not see me. I tried my hardest, but it all felt so pointless. I could see her face, but I could not dry her tears. I wanted to tell her I was alright. As alright as a dead girl can be anyway, but there was nothing I could do. In the end, I decided to leave her alone. She had moved on, and I knew I should too. Following Cornelia did not make her happy, and definitely did not make me happy. It just made me feel even more alone. I have not left this graveyard in almost a century. There has been no reason to leave. I just stayed here and slept.
A century might seem like a long time, but... Oh.
A century may seem like a long time, but it slipped by rather quickly. Nobody could see me, and so nobody bothered me. At least until today. You're the first person I have met during the long 150 years who can see me. It is most peculiar.
Well, I'm quite a peculiar person. I have always liked graveyards.
Ah, yes, you told me that earlier, I remember.
You don't think I'm weird, do you?
Perhaps a little, but I'm rather happy about it. If you were not weird, as you say, you could not be able to see me. I would still be alone.
That might not be because of me, though. Brr.
What do you mean? You could see me on your own 2 eyes, correct? You have not stolen anybody else's, have you?
No, of course not. It's just I owe my life to the people who came before me. Maybe these eyes were a gift from Rose Bradford.
Rose?
She's one of my ancestors. Apparently she was a medium. That's what my mother says anyways. Yet, if these eyes are a gift from Rose Bradford, the self-proclaimed White Witch of Beverly, they haven't been much of use of me until now. I've never seen a ghost before, even though I've been to countless graveyards in my time. I have, however, been strangely adept at the art of finding dead bodies, even when they're buried deep beneath the surface. Does that mean something? Anything? Nothing at all? Maybe the whole world is crawling with ghosts, thicker than the fog that creeps around the ground. And they just never wanted to make my humble acquaintance. I am going to save 15:44. That has not been 15 minutes and 44 seconds. That has not been. Anyways, that has been the story, the sad story of Emilliene Benz. Yeah, no one came by. I've been streaming for 2 hours. Doesn't seem to be a good or nice thing, really. But I will raid. I will raid Yami Kitsu 69 because I can, and I will be ending my stream. Okay, bye bye. And then raid. Okay.
Hi. What? Did it pause? Did it pause real quick? Oh my god, it was, you saw me now with my whole mouth open. Oh my god. Okay, well, no. Hi. Hi, hi, hi. Do you guys, are you guys hungry? I'm hungry. I didn't eat yet, so I'm gonna just take a bite there. I don't know who I ate, but whoever I ate in the chat, you're gone now, so I'll be able to talk again. They're probably gonna be a ghost.
But yeah, I'm gonna end stream. Okay, bye bye.